Hello and welcome to this Building Collections for Every Patron with Teaching Books webinar. I am Crystal Ballard. I'm an implementation and training specialist with Teaching Books. And today we're really going to talk about how you can create collections that best serve your communities with tools on Teaching Books. The mission and vision of Teaching Books is to equitably give all readers insights and opportunities that deepen their understanding and the joy of the books they're reading. And we have games, we have activities and lessons, we have book readings, book trailers, and interviews available. Today, what we're going to talk about is how to build lists and add titles that meet needs. We'll have a bird's eye view of analyzing small collections. We'll talk about core questions, goals, and overview of different tools you can use to create collections on Teaching Books, resources for sharing, and then any reflection and questions that we may have as we go. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. I will keep my eye on the chat as we're going so that I can see if I need to address anything as we go. And the goal for today is that you leave feeling equipped to use these Teaching Books tools at your library. Let's go over to the site. Before we talk about getting logged in and even how we log in and how you have access, I always like to do a couple hooks and then we'll go into the details. So let's open with two different hooks. I'm going to start with Matt Sprout's and The Curse of the 10 Broken Toes. You're going to see on Teaching Books that you can search by title, author, keyword in here. I'm going to search, if you're thinking of a title, by a title right here, Matt Sprout's and The Curse of the 10 Broken Toes. And then this is what a book page on Teaching Books looks like. I just want to give you an example of some different resources we have on Teaching Books before we go into talking about building complete or big or small collections. I'm going to play this Meet the Author recording. And I always say a Meet the Author recording is like a book talk, just a way better book talk than I could ever do because the author book talks their book. So let's listen to this.
Hello, my name is Matt Eicheldinger, and I am a teacher and storyteller and author of the middle grade book, Matt Sprouts and the Curse of the 10 Broken Toes. So this story is unique in that it is semi-autobiographical. And so the way this was formed is in my classroom, I have a thing called a story jar. It's filled with all these sheets of paper, and they're all mini stories of embarrassing things from growing up. And so if my class finishes a task early, or if we complete a goal, they get to pick a story out of the story jar. In my first year teaching, I was telling these stories, and kids absolutely loved laughing at me and the mistakes that I'd made growing up. And so I went home and I thought, well, what would happen if I weaved all of these mini stories together? And that's how the book came to be, is me taking these stories and trying to figure out a way to connect them. And
I'm going to pause it there because what reader doesn't want to learn about embarrassing stories of their teacher or an adult that they may know? So a great way to kind of hook, that's one example of a resource on Teaching Books. Another one, a real quick one, is name pronunciations. If you are featuring any titles, and we're going to talk about featured title displays today, if you're talking about featuring any titles, you can let the authors introduce themselves for those titles. I'm going to use Kwame as an example. You can see I searched by author this time. And I'm going to do the name pronunciation by Kwame Alexander.
Hi, my name is Kwame Alexander. It may be a little difficult. It's a name that comes from Ghana, a West African country, and it means born on Saturday. I'll tell you a little secret. I was born on Wednesday. I asked my parents, what were you thinking? Anyway, I love the name. It's really cool. And when I got married, I told the preacher, because I didn't want him to mess up my name when he got to that really important part, And so I said, look, think of the word Swami, a Swami, but with a K, Kwame. So he got up there and he said, do you, salami, take this? And I said, really? And then he kind of caught himself and he said, do you, pastrami? Oh, my goodness. Look, people, it's Kwame Alexander. Don't forget it. Kwame.
I love that one. What a great way to introduce your readers to the author, let them make a different connection. You get to hear the author's voice. You get to see a picture of the author. Now, one thing to note about Teaching Books is that it's provided to all Indiana schools, libraries, universities, and residents through Inspire. So you can freely share any resources on Teaching Books with your community. We're going to talk about login, but let me go over the sharing options really quickly so you can see how you can use these resources, whether it's an individual resource like this or whether it's a whole list, which is what we're going to talk about creating. Anytime you use a resource, whether you create a list or you're sharing a specific resource like this name pronunciation, you have this option to share. It says share this page. And if you select it, it brings up a pop-up with options to share. You can share with full site exploration or even this resource only. This resource only just takes away the menu options, so it's a more focused sharing tool. There's a link you can copy. You could send this out in a newsletter. So anybody in your community who accesses that link would be able to hear Kwame introduce himself, no login required. There's also printable sharing options where there's bookmark, flyer, label sheet, shelf talker. When you're thinking about creating displays and you want to create an interactive display for your patrons, you can print these shelf talkers and they'll print a page that's ready to go. And you can hang these on the edge of your shelves. I'll show you some pictures that librarians have sent us. But basically, your patrons can scan this code and they're taken straight to that resource. So you can create a very easy interactive display, but a great way for your patrons to connect deeper to authors and books. Some more sharing options, like I said, there's the printable options. There are also digital platform sharing options. So maybe if you are featuring Kwame one week, you could put this link on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media you use, but you can feature him that way too. And again, anybody you share with, whether it's printables like a QR code or a link, they will have direct access without logging in. Some pictures of what that can look like from some librarians. You can see this librarian just hung the shelf talkers over the edge of the books. You could do a welcome back display or back to school display. These are what the bookmarks look like printed. You can have these at the checkout desk. There's a QR code and a link, and then it will have login information for them too. But wherever they access, they will have direct access without having to log in at the same time. And then you even have labels. So if you have several books by Kwame Alexander, you could print labels. It will print 10 of them and place them in the book. So whoever checks out the book would have direct access to him introducing himself. That's some ideas for how we share our resources. When we're talking about sharing or creating anything, we just want to make sure you're logged in correctly with TeachingBooks. And what we're going to go on to next is talking about lists. And if you want to create and save a list, you have to be logged in as an educator. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. Keep in mind, again, TeachingBooks is provided through Inspire. There's a link to Inspire in the chat now if you want to go explore that. But if you go to TeachingBooks, and actually, you know what I can do? I will put the link in the chat, library.teachingbooks.net. Let me put that in the chat here if you want to follow along. You can always open a new tab and go through these steps with me. That is the link to go to TeachingBooks. What you're going to do is let me sign out one. It is most likely going to say either welcome Indiana resident or your library name, depending on where you are, because we are IP authenticated. So what you're going to want to do is go to the 3-line toggle menu in the upper left corner and select professional login. The reason we always recommend you use a professional login are you can share the resources for immediate access, just like I showed you. You will have access to all the sharing options, including like email, text, QR printables. You'll have access to all of that. You also can create a collection of resources, meaning what we're going to do next, which is create lists or collections and analyze those. In order to be able to do that, you have to be logged in as a professional. And if you want to receive newsletters and updates, you also want to make sure you have a login so that you get those. There's a couple different ways you can log in. You can put your work email here. We do have some single sign-on options. So whatever works for you at your library, then we will select sign in. Now, if you've never logged into TeachingBooks before, it will take you to a quick registration page. You'll fill out some information and create a password, but you'll know you're logged in as a professional because it will say welcome and your name in this upper left corner here. So now that we've talked about signing in, let's go ahead and start exploring some lists. Lists, again, are one of the benefits of a professional login. So if we go here, there's a couple ways you can search by any list name. So if we're thinking Indiana, we could search Firefly, but if you want to go and just browse lists within your account, you can always go to the toggle menu and then go to your reading list here too. And what you'll see this is Indiana State Library Inspire list, and then you'll see the Indiana Book Award list here. And any custom list that you created will show up down here. So you can see the ones that I created too. If we want to see all the Indiana lists, we can select this. And what you'll see are all the lists this year, previous, and you'll see the different grade levels too and ages. I'm going to select the Firefly Award list here, and what you'll see is, oh, and we know, was that today that we got that email? We know which is the award, which book won, Plouffe won this year. But you can see that yes, Plouffe, you can see the honorees, and then obviously the one that won here. If you type in Firefly, you will also see, did I spell that right? You'll see all the winners here. These are just all the ones that were honored here. These are the actual winners. We don't have it updated yet because that's so new. But these are all of the winning titles here. So you can see them here too. So let's talk about creating a list. Maybe you want to create a list for an upcoming display. Like you're thinking about something new as your readers are going back to school. You're thinking about creating a new list. We have some options for how to create a list. Let's go back to that toggle menu and then go to your reading list so we can go over the different options. If you want to create a new list, you have the option to select this button right here. And I'll show you another way to create too, but I just want to show you right away how you can add titles. If you look here, everything's kind of grayed out, and that's, well, or lightened, and that's because no matter what, it's going to make you save the name of the list first. So maybe if I put like biography here, and then I select save, what you're going to see is now these are not light anymore. And it's telling me I don't have anything in here yet. I know that. I was just saving the name. Here are the different ways you can bulk add lists. So if you have something that you printed from your OPAC and you have a collection you're looking at, you can paste a list of titles and authors from a spreadsheet. You can paste a list of ISBNs. And if I open any of these, you'll see what it does. You just copy the titles, copy the authors, and then hit import. You can upload a CSV, or you can even input a TeachingBooks list that we already have. Let me give you an example of the paste a list of titles and authors just so you can see what that looks like. I do have this biography list. First thing it's always going to make sure that you know is that they have to have the same amount of titles in column A as column B, which mine does. So all I would do, let's say you've exported this list from your OPAC, you're copying the titles. We're going to go back and do paste list of titles. There's my titles. And then we're going to paste also the author. Copy. And then we're going to go paste in the authors. And then what you're going to do is select import. And we select continue. And here is the titles that matched. It will tell you if any titles don't match. And sometimes we might actually have the title with resources on the site, but for some reason, maybe it didn't match because of spelling. So just check, make sure the title is cleaned up, author is cleaned up, that spelling is correct so that it matches it. And then you can see what's matched here. If I want to view the list that I just uploaded, this is what it will look like once it's ready to go. Now, this is a small collection. Remember, we're talking about like if we were thinking about doing a biography display, we're selecting some titles for a biography display. Well, what can we do with it from here? We know that we can feature these titles. We know we're going to have a display, but how do we want to feature them? If you look over on the left side, you can see resource type. You can see the different ways you can maybe use these titles to hook your readers. Like we have those wow, all of them have a meet the author recording or that book talk, like I like to call it. Let's see how many have book trailers. 11 of them have book trailers. So if we select book trailers and open up, let's do El Defo. A book trailer might show up here, or if you're looking for something to use as a hook, like a book trailer, you can scroll down here and it will be in the accordion menu too. And we can look at this. And play.
Eep. Boop. Hello? Do you think my hearing aids make me look funny?
I don't see a problem.
Are you deaf?
I gotta follow my own path.
You can call me El Defo. Oh no! Prepare!
I'm going to pause it there. But when you're thinking about these displays that you might want to feature, even if you were thinking even of featuring like the Firefly titles, you also can use that share tool. So in this example, we're doing a biography display. Well, maybe I want shelf talkers next to some of these titles that go to these book trailers so that your patrons can scan them and decide if that's a good match and something they want to read. So you can have some shelf talkers printed, or maybe we'll go back. If we want to share this book trailer and we just want bookmarks at the checkout desk, we can also do that. And you'll see what the bookmarks look like here. If we go back to that list, wait, how do I get back to that list? Because now I'm in this video book trailer. We can go back to the list by selecting the toggle menu and then going to your reading list. And if we scroll down, there's my biography list here. You can even share this whole list. So what I love about this is if you're thinking of doing a display, like the biography display like I'm talking about, and you want to link to certain resources within that display, like book trailers, or maybe some of those Meet the Author recordings, you can do that and have those next to the titles. But you also could just have a stack of bookmarks that go to this whole list, and your patrons can explore the titles explore the resources for the titles on the whole list and see which titles really speak to them and ones they want to check out. Let's go back into this biography list because I want to show you something that I think is really valuable when you are creating lists. So we created this biography list in order to have it as ideas for resources for a display maybe that we're going to do. Maybe you are trying to think of some titles for a display, but you're trying to make sure that they are titles that are going to meet the needs in your community. One thing you can do on any list on TeachingBooks is analyze it. You'll see list analysis report in the upper right corner of any list. And if you select that, it's going to take you to a page that provides data about your collection. So you're going to see at a glance this information here. But we'll see even more details as we go down. Now, remember, this is a biography list. So I am not surprised that most of them are nonfiction titles. But when you're creating your list, maybe your featured display, think about what you might want to include, what genres you might want or might not want. There's Lexile, so reading level, year published. Maybe I don't want some of these older ones. Maybe I need to get some new biographies in here because the newest one on here was 2019. And if you click on any of these, it will show you what titles were there. So these are the 2011 titles. And now that I'm looking at this, I definitely need to update this list. This is a perfect example of when you're going through, when you're looking at your collection. I actually didn't realize that the most recent title on here was from 2019. I need to add some more recently published titles. There's also cultural experience. So of the 48 titles on this list, I believe, you can see the different cultural experiences that are represented. Are your patrons seeing themselves in this list? Might you want to add some more cultural experiences to speak to some different populations of the community you serve? Now, remember, you can click on any of these and see what books fall in those cultural experiences. But it looks like we have 9 cultural experiences represented. Maybe we want more. Maybe this is perfect. It all depends on the community you're working with. As we continue to scroll down, you're going to see genre details, which I'm glad that this number is high because it's biographies. And then as we keep going, you'll see curricular area details and the part that I think is extremely helpful, which is what's not included. Genres not included. I'm not surprised by any of this because I know this is a biography list. But maybe if you were just doing featured titles and you were trying to pull a whole bunch of genres and do it as a featured title display, you might want to include more of those. Now, cultural experience is not included. You can see what's not included. So if you're talking about working with your community, do you want to add some of these? You can add these to your list. And let me show you how you can do that. You see all the ones that aren't included here. So maybe I select Pacific Islander here. What it's going to do is take me to the whole collection of Pacific Islander teaching books with resources here. And now I need to filter. So who is this display for? Is it for your earliest readers? Probably not. Maybe for your like middle and probably middle readers, I would say, middle grade. So you could filter by grade level if you wanted to. And then you could say, okay, but this time I am going to do recently published. So let's go look at year published. Ooh, and there's 12 in the current year. Or past 3 years, there's 128. Let's just do the current year. And now I have some options. So now I can add some Pacific Islander titles to this featured display. I mean, the first thing you might, of course, want to do is make sure you have the titles. And then you might want to say, but what resources do they have? Let me look over here. I want to add the ones that have, let's see if any of these have book trailers. I filtered it down pretty far, so I'm not sure. None of these ones have book trailers. So you might have to say, okay, what can I do next? How do I want to add these? But as you're filtering that down, let's say you decide you want to add these 2 titles to that biography list. What you can do is go here and do add multiple titles to reading list. Now, keep in mind, this is a biography list. So would you want to add these 2 or would you want to just add this one? I would say because it's biography list, we'd add this one. So we can say there's 2 ways to add to a list you've already created. You can add up here or see this little plus in the 3 lines. That also means add. Either way, it's going to take you to the same pop-up. And what it will do is there's a pop-up here. We want to add this title to our biography list. And it's here twice because it's right under the list. If you create a new list or if you've already had one, you can click either of these and it'll work. And now let's go look at our biography list. Remember, we only added 1 title that's been published this year. So now we have 49 titles instead of 48. But let's go see if we select list analysis, how it's changed. So same amount of nonfiction versus fiction. Remember, they're biographies. That's not surprising. But look, now we have our 2025 book. Yay! Cultural experiences, and now Pacific Islanders added here. Genres, we're going to assume mostly the same. Curricular area. But now you'll also see that the not included has one less too. So we can see how analyzing the list and maybe adding or taking away, if there's something that doesn't meet the needs of your patrons when you're talking about your collections, you can easily do that to see what's going to get included, what's going to be represented, and what might not be. I'm going to pause and see if after what I just showed, I know that's kind of a lot of clicks. I want to make sure that you were able to follow along. If not, go ahead and write in the chat and tell me kind of where I should start, and I will show that again. I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but I'm going to give you another example just so that you can see how you can analyze any list that's already on here or any list you create. Now, we created the biography list, but you also can go look for any list that's already created on TeachingBooks. Since we're coming to the end of summer, I think an adventure list that's already created could be fun. Let's do adventure and fantasy grades 9 and 10. Let's look at this list. This has 16 titles, adventure and fantasy. Let's analyze it. I have a feeling this one's going to be a lot different than the one we just analyzed. So let's go look at it. Remember that list analysis option is in the upper right corner on any of these list pages. And if we scroll down, I feel we're definitely not surprised that they're all fiction since this is a fantasy list. Let's look at publication. Cultural experience. Remember, there's only 16 titles on this list. So I would say the fact that this many cultures that we're seeing this many cultural experiences is pretty good for a smaller list. Scroll down, there's genre, English language arts. And then again, we see what's not included. So what can we add if we wanted to add to meet some of the needs of the different patrons we serve? So you can search any list and analyze it to see whether you created it or it's already created on TeachingBooks. Any questions about analyzing a list, like a small display list or any other kind of list that you create? Okay, now let's talk on a bigger scale. On a bigger scale, let me go to 4 professionals here. We have something called the Collection Analysis Toolkit. If you open up Collection Analysis, the first thing it says you can do is create a custom reading list. That's what we just did. My biography list was a custom reading list. You also can analyze your collection. Now, this is big picture. So if you're thinking, I don't want to just analyze that small list of biographies, I want my whole biography collection analyzed. What's represented? What's not? What's the average publication date? Or what's new? What isn't? You also can analyze a whole collection. And you'll have the same options that we used when we did a list. When we did a smaller list, you can paste a list of titles and authors, paste a list of ISBNs. If you're doing a whole collection, which is probably thousands of titles, I think uploading a CSV is probably the easiest way to do it. And you just want to make sure that no matter what, it has title, author, ISBN. And it will tell you that if I click here, you'll see all the information on how to upload different types of titles. And this is a very important note, Because I was just saying, if you're thinking about analyzing a biography collection to see what's represented, what isn't, what other biographies can you purchase maybe to meet the different needs of your patrons, that's great. Let's do a needs assessment, but we always suggest doing a smaller collection at a time. So instead of your collection of biographies that's 23,000 titles, we recommend trying to stick to less than 1,000 at a time, because it will be easier to match them on our side if it's a little, not a little, if it's smaller. So we want it to be more focused, just for the accuracy to be even more correct. But you can upload that, then look at what's represented, what isn't, what you might want to purchase. That's a great reason to justify a budget and why you have a wish list. And you have all of the options here to import a collection analysis. And we always say one thing that's really important before you do a whole collection, when you're thinking on a bigger picture like that, is complete a needs assessment. And if we open this, you can see different questions that are being asked and how you can reflect upon why you're doing the collection analysis and what you want to get out of it. What are your goals? So any questions about collection analysis? So a much bigger picture than uploading your own lists and maybe your featured titles. Okay, I want to show you one more time. If you do have a list that you create, just make sure you'll be able to find any list or collection analysis under the 3-line toggle menu and then your reading list. Now, collection analysis reports will also show up over here if you have one. I don't have one, but if I did, it would say your collection analysis. But when you go into your reading list, any of those smaller lists you create will also be there. And again, you can always look at Indiana lists. You can type in Indiana in the search or go to your reading list. Show you. If you type in Indiana, you can do see all lists and they will all appear here too. If you're looking to do some displays featuring any of these award titles. Okay, let's go back to the slides. I will be turning off the recording in just a second so we can answer even more questions, but I just wanted to give a summary. We talked about how to build lists and add titles that meet needs, kind of a bird's eye view of analyzing small collections. Talked about that needs assessment, the core questions, the goals, the overview tools, and then we talked about sharing and how we can do that. So thank you again for joining today. Remember, help and support is always available. My name is Crystal Ballard. My email is up here. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording.